Well, that's fucking not good.
Hey! We're recording the podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you wherever you are, because it is Burnie Somewhere for January 16th, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns. Sitting right over there is the lovely, just recently fresh from her victory at the Iowa caucus, Ashley Jenkins.
Gonna be president.
I called you Jenkins.
I know you
did
did.
it. I've done that before a couple times.
I get it. It's fine. It's. I get that. Like, that's how you met me. I'm stuck in your head that way. Most of the world still knows me that way. It's fine.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I forgive you.
First of all, I think it's kind of dumb. I get it with kids, but I think it's kind of dumb that women have to change their name basically halfway through their life if they get married. It's a weird tradition that I'm surprised continues to this day.
And we don't have to. I like your idea of making a new name together.
Yeah.
But I don't know what we would make.
We would be Ashburn.
Jerkins.
Where'd the R come from Jerkins?
That's the Burns contribution.
I'd have to change my name for alliteration, though. Hi, I'm Jerry Jerkins. Welcome to Murmur.
Bunkins. You want to be a Bunkins with
Bunkins isn't bad. I mean, they kind of do that when they do the celebrity couple names, you know?
Yeah, they do.
Man, that's another thing we have to decide. Do we want to do any kind of like celebrity gossip news? There's a show we really like, and there's an actress from the show that we really like who changed her look via plastic surgery. And it's seemingly, or some kind of procedure.
It seems like it's a really common procedure that a lot of people in Hollywood are getting right now. It's called buccal. I think buccal is how you pronounce it. A fat removal. It's basically like the fat in your cheeks. And what it does is it gives you very defined cheekbones. It also can kind of very quickly look quite overdone.
So in the guy world, this is like the natty thing. Like, are they natural? You know,
as opposed to like testosterone. Yeah, this is like, and it's weird because there's a lot of really like already beautiful, striking women who are doing it. Anya Taylor-Joy also.
Do you know that she did it?
Reportedly,
gotcha. Okay.
Got the similar surgery, and it's like if people keep posting like before and afters, and you can tell just like the cheeks are hollowed out under the cheekbones. But is what that look is, and it honestly probably usually doesn't look quite that drastic, but it might immediately after surgery when there's like swelling or under certain lights where, if you have like a downlight or something that naturally casts a lot more shadow, it's going to look more stark probably.
It's kind of a weird thing because commenting on it, right, is one of the things that causes the issue that makes people change their looks so much. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum and talk about this real quick, though. I was shocked when David Letterman retired, of whom I am a tremendous fan. When he retired, the first picture that emerged of him after retirement was, of course, they're no longer trying to maintain his looks to be on camera. They're not like coloring his hair and evening him out and putting makeup on him for his daily show.
Did he look like just a normal crazy person?
He was jogging and he had this gigantic white beard, like white gray beard. And it was a little shocking, but if you look at that, of course, he's not on camera every single day. Why can't he just be himself? You know?
And something like that might be an act of like, not rebellion, but like freedom. Like you're taking yourself back. You've had to be camera ready for so long that you're like, you know what? I'm not shaven. And you know what? No, I'm not grooming the beard. You know what? I'm going au natural.
I'm going to let my bush grow.
Yeah. So, you know what's up.
How old was Letterman when he retired? He was born in 47. So however old.
You can get it together. I believe in you.
I'm just laughing. However the hell old he was, he just looked his age. You know what I mean? And what's wrong with that? I mean, there's no problem with looking your age.
Like what was striking is that he looks normal. He looks like someone that you would just see out and about.
There's also the thing when you're first starting out. This is Letterman at the end of his career. At the beginning of your career, for young people, they're put on camera. I think you have been on camera. I have been on camera. Sometimes you can be shocked by the way you look on camera versus what you think you look like in your head. You can even be shocked by when you take a selfie and what you look like in the mirror versus what you look like from a normal camera angle that doesn't flip it, because now selfies flip it.
Yeah, almost constantly. Like I'll be looking in the mirror and I'll be like, I look, I'm pretty happy with how I'm looking. And I'll take a photo and I'm like, oh God.
Right.
And then delete it and throw my phone across the room.
So I don't think it's unusual for a young person when they're starting out to go, oh my gosh, is that what I look like on camera? That's a completely normal thought to have, completely normal process to go through. But you can have dramatic changes to the way you look just by doing normal things. And then, of course, when you have access to less normal things, then you feel like you have to use those, So it's a lot of pressure on people when they first start out, I think.
Yeah, it is a lot of pressure. And the thing is, I'm all for people wanting to feel their best and doing what they can to feel their best. If there's a lot of people who are like, no, don't get, boobs done, whatever. Like, just keep it natural. It's like, if boobs will make you feel better, fuck, go for it. You know what? Why not? Rock yourself. You want to look in the mirror and you want to be happy about that.
Right. But then it just causes more people to comment on you, which I think then feeds the problem.
Yeah. I mean,
which is why we're very specifically not naming the actress.
Yeah. And I can't say that I've had, anywhere near the kind of pressure that I'm sure she's had to deal with in her career. So I really can't judge.
I would also say too, your face is one of the things that changes the most as you lose and gain weight.
It does. It depends on the person too.
Depends on the person. That for me, it's one of the last things to change. But when it does change, it's a pretty dramatic change, I think. All right. While we're on the subject of entertainment and entertainment news, the Emmys were last night.
Which Emmys? Because I thought the Creative Arts Emmys had already been done, and the other Emmys are in the autumn. So what Emmys were last night?
They were postponed because of the strikes, babe. I looked it up for you. That's why. That's why the Emmys were. This is one of those things where we know that the Emmys were held at a weird time, and we were wondering why the hell are they having the Emmys in January. I think most people don't have any idea when the awards take place. They might know the Oscars happen after the first of the year because the Oscar movies all come out in December. But I'm often shocked. Sometimes you get kind of lost in your own industry and your own career that you think everyone knows as much as you do about it. I remember one time I was talking to a girl and I was talking to her about Steven Spielberg. And she says, I don't know who that is. I go, Steven Spielberg, the director? She goes, I've heard his name, but I don't know who is Steven Spielberg and what he does.
Did that absolutely break you? Just like did you have any idea how to process that?
It was a wake up call for me because I was like, Saving Private Ryan? You don't know? She goes, I know what Saving Private Ryan is. She goes, but I don't know is he in it? Did he make it? And I go, he's the director. She's like, I don't know what that is. Like she just didn't know what a director of a movie was. But why would you? If you go see movies, why would you know that? How many people do you think that have gone to see the Avengers know who Kevin Feige is?
Right, or like what it means to be Kevin Feige.
Right. Had you ever heard the term showrunner for a show before?
Maybe. I mean, I think that the Game of Thrones guys were some of the first like quite famous showrunners. Lost also did, I think.
Right. It's not a real term, by the way. There is no title in like if you go to IMDb. Speaking of which, what the fuck has happened to IMDb?
Has it always been that bad, or is it?
No, absolutely not. It used to look more like Wikipedia, where you would go and you would say, "I'm going to Wikipedia, or excuse me, to IMDb to do one of three things. I'm going to look up a person's name. I want to see what was the movie they were in, so I want to scroll probably through their filmography, or I'm going to look up a movie and see who's in it. That's what I'm doing. Now there's like 8,000 different pieces of information, and it's seemingly the ones that we know we're all there to get. We're there to search for those terms. Those things are all hidden behind other things, even publicity photos and things like that.
At this point, I don't search on IMDb ever. I will go on to Google and I will search so-and-so name, David Letterman, IMDb.
I don't need an account for everything. I don't need to sign up for an account for every single thing.
I'm not going to sign up for IMDb.
Why would
Premium. Why would I need IMDb Premium? Speaking of which, would like to announce Bernie Burns OnlyFans.
My name is Jerry Jenkins. Jenkins. You know what's a cool feature, which we're about to talk about patents, so maybe I'm wondering if this is patented, because I'm wondering why every streaming service doesn't have this. Amazon bought IMDb years ago.
Amazon owns IMDb?
Yeah, right? Am I? Now you got me questioning myself. By the way, Letterman retired when he was 66. I finally came up with that information.
Well done.
You know what's disappointing me? While we're talking about like
Amazon owns IMDb. Wow, what the hell? I
who
had
knows so
no
much.
idea.
Look who knows so much. I got to take my victories where I can get them. Something is disappointing me while we're talking about features online that we use all the time that are changing, not for the better as we progress into amazing technology. Search is getting harder and harder. Like, just search what I want for, and I think it's only going to get worse. The thing that bothers me is that the AI bots that they seem to be forcing on me, like these chat bots that I don't want at this point to interface with because I haven't figured out how I want to handle that. Now I find, though, they're giving me search results from the chat bots, and the chat bots actually give me the information that I want. So I'm getting better information from those chat bots than from search.
Annoying, right?
It's annoying.
But then the nice thing so far that I like about the search chatbots, at least, is that they're usually they've got the citations. They're like, here's the information citation, and I'll be like, oh, that's the link I'm looking for, and I'll click through to it.
And is that like a symptom of people out there in the world trying to manipulate, like through SEO, trying to manipulate search results, and the chatbot just kind of cuts through it? Because literally I was trying to find what age did Letterman retire. Couldn't find it. And then the chatbot, which I actually dragged down to, just immediately said, I know exactly what you're trying to find. Here's the information. He retired at 66.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, but collapsing our tangent threads here, going back up. I can't believe it doesn't have a patent. There's a really cool service that seems to only exist on Amazon's streaming service, which is the X-ray function. When you pause a scene in a thing you're watching, it comes up with an information screen that shows you who's in the scene, like who's the actor.
I love that feature. I love it. And you can also then like browse through, and it will show you other things that actor's in. It will also show you. You can not always, but sometimes get a reference for what music is playing in the background of a scene. Like if there's a song, it'll be like, it's this song. I'm like, that's great. It's wonderful. I love it. Why doesn't everything have that?
Have you ever had that work against you though?
No, go ahead.
I can't remember the specific example, but I remember the feeling of it where I paused something one time and I came back to it and it had people who were in the scene, and then there was another actor who wasn't in the scene. And I'm like, they're not in the scene. And then I unpause it and then stab. It ruined that they were gonna be in that scene. It's like when you're watching a movie or a show with somebody who's already seen it and they keep looking at you.
And they look. There's a sound to that look, and it's
you can feel it. It's like, can I just watch this without you pressuring me to have the right reaction?
Just smother them with a pillow and then get on with your watching.
And I'm speaking from experience, from someone who watched Game of Thrones, sitting right next to someone who had read all of the Game of Thrones books and would sit there and look at me out of the side of her eye the entire time, like, whoa.
Oh man, though, I remember.
I was like, wow, this is a really nice wedding.
I remember the smugitude, the just absolute oozing smugitude of sitting there during the red wedding with people who didn't know it was coming.
Smug.
Oh man, it was. I have not often been like that pleasantly smugitudinous in my life, but that was a moment.
You should patent.
That was a real moment of joy.
So we've been leading up to talking about something that's in the news for patents right now. Patents is in the news because Apple is having to revamp the hardware of some of their Apple Watches in order to be able to sell them in the U.S. now. That's their plan, at least.
Yeah, so they've been, I guess they've had this issue with a company called Massimo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I kind of want to call them, you remember the brand Massimo?
Yeah, I think they still exist. Athletic shorts?
Yeah. I remember they were like, they did like the wide leg jeans when I was in like middle school.
I think you're talking about the past tense. I think they're still going, babe. Oh, no. No, they were a sportswear and accessories company. It was acquired by Iconics Brand Group in 2006. Okay.
Anyway, Massimo, they do medical devices, and they have a patent on basically a worn blood oxygen meter. And so they're going after Apple for violating their patent. The ITC, that's the International Trade Commission, has so far upheld the Massimo's patent claim.
So then why is it only in the U.S., I wonder?
Because it's a U.S. patent.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So Apple's still able to sell the watch internationally at the moment, but not in the U.S. And so it's still being sold through third parties, but they had to stop selling it around Christmas, I think. It's weird. Apple's settled before with other issues, but they seem really stuck on this one. And I've heard the theory that they're going to try and get this company's patent invalidated, and that's why they're sticking to it.
Get their patent invalidated. That's interesting.
Has happened before.
Apple, even though they're not really synonymous with podcasting these days, the word podcasting is a portmanteau of iPod and broadcasting. It was something that started essentially, at least the modern version that we know it today. People have done online audio broadcasts. In fact, one company in particular said that they owned the patent on podcasting, and they went after Apple, and they very famously went after Adam Carolla and sued him. And it's really easy to call the people who do these things patent trolls. In fact, do you remember there was a town in Texas? It was in East Texas. And it was like a population of I'm going to say 25,000 people, but most of the patent lawsuits were filed from this state, or from the city, because it was a small town and the judge there was known for pushing patent lawsuits through really quickly.
Yeah, they had what's called a rocket docket. So basically,
docket, that's right. Yeah.
And I want to say it was called Marshall, Texas.
No, is that right? Marshall? No, look it up. Yeah, go ahead.
But I remember this has come up before because I remember Nintendo had some issues with, was it the 3D technology that they used in 3DS. Anyway, one of their consoles had some issues, and it came up, and it was this is just one example of being filed in this weird little town in Texas, and there was a documentary that someone did on this, or it was either a documentary or a series of articles where they actually went to this town, and it was just all these vacant offices because patent trolls would register in this town so that they could file in this jurisdiction.
It's actually ended now.
Yes, yeah. That's finally ended, so we don't hear about it anymore. It was, I think, a federal court said, no, you can't choose where to file your patent suit.
Yeah. So this is from an article on Bloomberg. This goes back to May 25th, 2017 by Joe Nocera. The name of the town is Marshall, Texas.
My apologies, Kyle.
The case in question is TC Heartland versus Kraft Foods. On Monday, the court ruled unanimously that the patent holders suing corporations can't go hunting for a friendly court as they've long been able to. Instead, they have to file in districts where the company is incorporated or where it has an established place of business. So it says here, in 2015 alone, there were 2,500 patent lawsuits filed in Marshall, Texas.
Wow.
Yeah. And
that's insane.
The population of Marshall was 24,000 people. So 1 out of every 10 people in Marshall, Texas filed a patent lawsuit.
Wow.
We were actually part of something historically with that. And I say part, very small part. Adam Carolla was the guy who was right at the tip of the spear for this stuff, fighting the patent lawsuits.
Because he had the #1 podcast. He was the guy.
Huge. And him, and I remember him and Mark Maron were at the top of the charts for years and years on Apple Podcasts. And so he had the burden of having to fight this thing, and did. He actually did pay them.
He settled, yeah.
Yeah, he settled and paid them. And then the Electronic Frontier Foundation then picked up the mantle from there, and then actually had the patent invalidated, or at least ruled finally in appeals court, and they couldn't use it against podcasts. But at some point in there was a big crowdfunding campaign by Adam Carolla. I don't want to take away from what he did. He did a ton to fight this thing. Somebody reached out to us because, if memory serves, part of the fight was showing that the patent curated media content delivered on a regular basis to an audience. That was some of the language that was in there.
That's vague as shit. I hate patent language sometimes.
One of the things that was an example of that pre-existing was back in 2003, Red versus Blue, that we would take episodes and we put them out. So we submitted to people who were collecting it. I don't know how they were associated. All of it was public information. We just had the dates that we did things, and here's where you can see this, and here's where you can see that. And so we were able to submit some of that stuff. I don't know if it was ever used, but there were people that were collecting it as part of this crowdfunding effort, and we were happy to submit that.
Anyway, I'm going to be curious to see what ends up happening with this Apple one. They're being very stubborn about it. There's been talk about software updates to disable the feature, which seems like that shouldn't be legal for anyone who's already bought the watches anyway. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what is it that they're angling for here.
At the same time, these are big companies, and they shouldn't be able to just take anything that exists out there and roll it up into their products. I always look back at a program that I used to use in the 90s called PKZip, which would allow you to compress files. And it was made by a company called PKWare. And then suddenly, at one of the releases of Windows, you could just zip files natively in the OS. And everyone was like, this is great. And it's wonderful. But I always wondered, was this company paid to include not only the compression technology in the OS, but also then to use the zip terminology and nomenclature for what these files were called? That's interesting to me. So there's always two sides to it. It's easy to say patent troll, but also got to keep in mind these are major companies who can just roll shit up if we just let them do it.
And I don't think Massimo is a patent troll, but I'm curious why Apple is being so stubborn about this one specifically when they've settled and licensed things in the past.
Right. And then people are saying, why don't they just buy it?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So closing thought for the day about the term trolling. When I say an internet troll, what do you think of?
I think of the troll under the bridge just waiting to just jump out and hit someone with a club.
I don't think that's where the term comes from. I think it comes from fishing. When they put big lines in the water and they're trolling through the water, I think it's a word that has often been misunderstood. And the original intention of the word was to show how people would put inflammatory comments out there and try to get reactions from people putting bait out there.
Fishing. Interesting.
On a wide level. And also,
never considered it in that context.
It makes sense for patent troll too. You just have these things out there, this bait, you just troll and see who's going to bite, basically.
Yeah, who'll pay.
Don't take the bait, anybody. Have a great day out there. We'll be here to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you'll be here as well.